Okay, so empathy interviews or empathy mapping is a tool or method that is included into the design thinking method. So design thinking, it's a concept which is based on the fact that when you create a product or a service or any other type of activity, you try to do it in a way that is the closest possible to the target group. So instead of imagining a product and then making it and then checking if it fits to the target or not, then you immediately start to work with the target group, understanding their needs, and then going back regularly and having a feedback from the target. So in this way you can create a better product. Empathy mapping is the first part of this whole overall. It's a kind of circular production, let's say, process. And empathy mapping is the first part when the people are telling about their needs. But the idea is that instead of asking guided questions that might be as guided, a bit biased, seeing the target group, the empathy mapping led them to talk, just talk in a free way about their needs. So the idea is that you put a very general question. Of course, the question is related to the service that you would like to do. And you try to get out the main messages, what the person is saying. So you let the person talking in a free way. Of course, in case if there is any relevant thing that you would like to ask or precise, you can ask things. But as a general rule, you always need to ask things that are related to some information that the person has already said at a certain point. So you will not ask something that is totally
this is related and linked to the concept of circularity. We are treating in this.
It is related in the way that in the term of this production activity, the design thinking, the production itself or the creation of a service will always come back to the needs, to the original needs of the people. And so the good thing with this empathy mapping is that not only you ask this question in a free way, but you also pay attention on not only on the verbal but also non-verbal meta communication, like feelings, thoughts, emotions. So you also check out how the person is behaving while taking. If you see that the person is sure about him or herself, or the person is uncertain, or you see that some expressions are totally contradictory to what the
gives
person
you more
said,
explanation,
then
more
you put it also. And we call it map because we have a sort of system where we put these different observations according to what the person said, thought, felt, or observed. And so this brings you, instead of a linear description of the results of this interview, it gives you a map,
a whole picture,
also a picture, and this is the result of empathy mapping.
So we interviewed about a group of young students from high school, aged between 15 to 18 years old.
Where are they from?
They're all mainly from Palermo, and then a couple had a migrant background, and most of them go to the same high school, but some others go to the high school, but they're all based in the city center of Palermo.
And what kind of migrant background they had?
Coming from African countries. So we asked the participant to tell us about a time where they had to find a solution for a difficult situation, but to focus maybe on something they had to do in their school life. So maybe with their schoolmates or with their friends, but not too generally. There were quite a few different type of answers, but quite all the participants raised the issue of not being heard by adults. So they feel the need to be heard by adults and be taken into consideration and actively participate in the decision-making processes that relate specifically to their lives and what it is about them. And related to this need, they identified the need to improve their communication skills, improve their interpersonal skills, and emotional intelligence. And a third need that was related in sequence to the first two was also to learn how to co-design and co-run youth-led activities, so to foster the participation of other young people and also having a peer-to-peer kind of approach to different situations in the school life.
Our target were young people, so living in Ireland, but who had migration background, so they were between 17 and 30 years old, and they had all diverse backgrounds. So some were students, some were in Ireland because of job opportunities, and some of them didn't work at all. So very diverse background, but most of them were young people living now in Ireland. So the main questions we asked them was to ask them, so what are their achievements and the challenge they met when they arrived in Ireland, and how did they adapt when they arrived in Ireland, what was the main issue they encountered. And so yeah, it was basically focused on social inclusions. We had many needs. So one of them were that they were talking about the lack of job opportunities, how they couldn't find any job, how they have to work on their qualifications and valuations of skills. So for example, sometimes they have experience but they don't know how to value them, and so because of this they cannot find jobs. Also, they talked about the fact that there were some inequalities between poor and rich people, that some rich people can find easily job, and when you come from a poorest area, you have difficulties in finding them. Also, so about the part of social exclusion, the fact that when they came, so they were migrants, they were excluded from the society and they didn't find any person to talk to and to socialize to. So these were the main needs we identified.
Okay, so our target group was in Berlin. Young people between around 20, between 20, 30-year-old who are often young professionals or are making just their studies, so higher studies, or they already start their activities or their jobs as young professionals. So many of these young people are professionals, as I said. So basically, they have good qualifications, good education skills, and many times the problem they had was that they had to face two strong challenges in the school. They still had many problems of exclusion, so they need some skills to overcome these. Also, they have to face a lot of requirements from their parents, from their environment, from their families, and they need to see how to overcome these difficulties that are related to the requirements of the family and the society, and how to link those things together. They also need some more knowledge of the local networks, professional networks in Berlin, because although they are already working or making studies, but they still need to have more networks on the local level, so knowledge about local issues, local things, how to present themselves as professionals, how to write a CV, how to provide information about their own skills and competencies.
So my target group is actually the people I'm working with. So they are normally either migrants, normally who are coming from Morocco, and maybe they have just arrived from their countries, or either also Spaniards, young Spaniards, who are looking for a job or trying to get new competences or new skills to look for a job. So the needs, I mean, if we talk about Spain, we have to face the situation in Spain, which is really, really bad at the moment, because for people under 25, we have a 50% unemployment. And even if they are really trained, and some people are maybe enrolling in masters and they have certificates, they thought that the main need is that, for example, non-formal education is not validated in Spain. They don't recognize non-formal education, such as, for example, doing an internship or doing volunteering or doing training course related everything to non-formal education. So they were complaining about this, that when they go for an interview and they say that they have volunteered or they have made like different courses even throughout Europe, even under the Erasmus Plus framework, this is not validated and recognized. So they were complaining about this.
So Artemisius target group is young people in their 20s living in Budapest for either studies or work. And they are all socially very active, so they like to involve their peers in different activities.
Where were they coming from?
It's a very international group because we had members from Poland, from Jordan, from Uganda, so even Mexico. So yes,
What age approximately?
late 20s.
Okay. And what was your initial question to them?
So my initial question was, tell me about the time when you organized something that involved other people. And then they started telling me, because they were like socially active people, so they like involving other people, their peers. So we started with their stories, and then we went from there to describe a bit what was something that they were happy about, and maybe something that they were not so happy about and they want to improve. So I think the most important topic was the gap between Hungarians and foreigners in Hungary. So many of them actually told me about the difficulties, how to involve Hungarians and foreigners in the same activities. So either you have one, like either Hungarians go to events or either foreigners go to events, but it's a bit more difficult to address both of them. And they have this kind of goal, or many of them have this goal to involve both parties and like bring them together and close this gap.
So I made my empathy interviews in Marseille with young people, especially women, and some members from the LGBTQ community who has arrived quite recently to France. Well, as this project is mostly about circularity, but also about using images, the question I asked, so the very first question was about how they use images in their everyday life. As I said, these people arrived not long ago, so logically their main needs are to acquire linguistic skills, first of all, but also as they are often in a very special situation, they are confronted to exclusion quite often, also hate speech. So they need skills to not to fight against it, but to have enough self-confidence to deal with this problem, which is quite present in Marseille.
So our target group were both young people, so we're asking questions to young people about their experience in the when applying for a job, as well as youth workers, so about how they were feeling while performing their job. So both targets.
Who were these young people?
So the young people were around 20 years old, and they were all attending the same organization. So we went to this organization that we have in our network. They are based in Rome, and they're people from all economic backgrounds, and they come from different countries as well. They all gather there because it's a nice environment to spend the afternoon. Usually young people like it from, I'd say it was around 14 years old to 25 was more or less the oldest. The initial question we were asking to young people was how did they feel last time they were applying for a job, or sometimes we would also ask how were they feeling when last time they wrote a CV. So thinking about their skills and capabilities and experiences, how did they feel including them in a CV, in a formal presentation for a job application. So the main needs we identified were difficulties in writing. So the needs were learning to write CV, because in fact they were writing them, but then they had difficulties writing them or writing it on a computer. Some of them didn't have the tools, or even the organization didn't have enough funding to provide them with the tools, although they have some expertise on CV writing. So there were some needs both of young people and the organization of learning to use, as well as having tools, digital tools now required for CV writing and job application. And in general, another need was to build bridges in the local community. So that's why they were all there, and that was a good space for them to come. But as well, sometimes they couldn't find the people that they needed to build bridges for their professional career. So sometimes it was a good space to interact and socialize, but it wasn't the right place to build professional bridges. So networking in that sense was one of the needs of people that we interviewed.